Okay, so this is part 2 of setting up your Canvas course. This is going to go a little bit more into best practices and being able to filter and just practice. This is practical application. So this time I'm going to use my demo course. So this is not going to have that many things filled in all the way. All right, so the first thing you're going to see when you get here is kind of this. If you've already made a kind of a home page that has links and stuff, then you'll see that. So the first thing I do, if I'm getting into detail, is I choose my home page, and so that's on the right, and you can do a couple things. You can use the activity stream. You can create a page, and that's normally where you can put like links or a picture or whatever. You can use assignments list, you can use a syllabus. I use course modules. So I do units. Each unit is a module for me, and I put under it assignments. So I will have my populations unit, my economy unit, my World War II unit, and so on. So I said this. This keeps things looking simple and easy to use. It reduces the amount of clicks that students need to make to get somewhere. So it's way less confusing. Not as pretty, but less confusing. So I set it to course modules. Okay. There's some other things you've got over here. So you can import existing content. So if you're starting and you want to bring in things from before, or you want to import from Commons. So you can also, if you're just starting out, you can go to Commons and search for stuff. You can search for a populations test. You can search for a quiz. You can search for a whole entire course. So you can make announcements, new stream. We've got some analytics over here. You want to make sure that you click publish, otherwise no student is getting into this course. They will not be able to see it. And pretty much that's kind of the key for if anything doesn't show up for you. Somewhere along the way, it's not published, or it doesn't have a date. Those two things are the normal problems. It's either not published or doesn't have a date. So you would want to publish this. If you ever want to see what this would look like for a student, you can click on Student View. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Settings, and this time I'm going to go into a slightly more detail. So the first thing I do is change this picture. I think pretty much you have to download it. They used to have a search, but it's either gone or it doesn't work as well. So I go here and I choose image, and that helps them see it because in general it's this little square of color. This kind of lets them know, okay, that's my science class, that's my social studies class. It stands out a little bit more. In this one, I don't use a course template. This is a manually created course because it's my demo course. Normally I put in a start and end date and restrict students from viewing. I do not launch by student group. That is very restrictive. Grading scheme, I just default. I don't really have any copyright things in here, so I use public domain. Okay. You can... What is this one? No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Okay. I would normally include the course in a public course index in case somebody needs to search for my course. Format, you can pick... This doesn't really matter all that much. More options, this is kind of critical here. If you need people to join, and this might be too if this isn't your class, if you're a long-term sub or something like that and you make this, then you can click on this and that will give them, I'm not sure where it is. Okay, so normally I would add this, and where is it? Normally when you click that, there should be a URL here. Maybe it's higher up. Normally a URL shows up that you can have them type in, or you can have a link that they can click on. Alright, so I normally let them attach files. Sometimes I have them add a picture. Sometimes maybe they are writing something. I don't let them create discussion topics. I do not want them creating something crazy and all of a sudden they are on a tangent or doing something inappropriate. I do let them edit or delete their own discussion replies. Sometimes they do want to edit it. Okay, yes, sometimes they make a mistake and they post something they shouldn't have. You will always be able to see it though. So even if they delete it, it will still be there. So you can see what they wrote. I don't let them pick their own groups. Hiding totals is... I would use this if I plugged in any other grades into Powerschool. That's when I would use this. I normally put every single grade into Canvas. Even if I'm taking some random grade, a notebook check, or it's not that detailed, I put it into Canvas so that ultimately I click sync and it'll go into Powerschool. And that's my starting point. But some people like to put stuff into Powerschool directly, and pretty much what's going to happen is your grades aren't going to match up. So if you do that, it's good to hide the totals so that they can see what they got on the assignment, but they aren't comparing Canvas and Powerschool. I don't let them see distribution graphs. This doesn't matter too much. I allow comments on announcements because I use my announcements if I have a sub and I want to put what the lesson plan is. That way, if if the date is wrong in an assignment and they can't get into it or anything really, then they can comment and say that there's a problem. Of course, I'm going to put in this. And yeah, so that's kind of it for this. The next thing, and I normally go across. So I go into sections, and I talked about this before. If your class is in Powerschool, then you will automatically have courses here with numbers. So what I normally do is I go into Powerschool and I look at my rosters essentially. So I'll look at, okay, this is my first block, and I look at the names, and then, so normally this wouldn't be 0 users. Normally you would, have 27 or whatever. So we click on this, and so normally they'd be under here. I would look at the names and I would see if they match up, and then I would edit it and I would rename this to, hypothetically, let's say this is first one. And I might put the date in, but so that would be first block. So then I go back and I do my next one. I'm like, okay, and I look at the students and I'm like matching it up. This is going to be important for filters under grading. It'll be easier to grade things. It will be easier if you're going through grades to put like block 1 and see their grades and just address block 1. So you're not searching through all the student names. And so again, you would edit it to be whatever name. In navigation, I really try to limit this. So always leave grade sync. You will need that. And I'm going through this in the most simple, I want the most basic, simple way. Once you've been in Canvas for a while, that's when you can probably start adding some of these things and looking stuff up and getting more involved with matching stuff up. You can still get into this. This allows the students to see it though, so I'm going to put that down. Item banks can go. I normally just leave home, grades, announcements, and grade sync. And that's because my home is set to the assignments. If it weren't, I'd probably put in modules. And then make sure to save it. So you're just dragging over on the 3 dots. You can also click here and click move and whatnot. The rest of these I don't mess with that much. I went over the feature options in the first one. Again, over here we have the button to publish this course. No one is going to be able to see this unless it is published. They will not be able to find it. It will not be there. And then of course you have some other things over here. So course statistics, you can do all kinds of stuff. Alright, I went through assignments and how to sync everything in part 1. Now, one thing that I like to do is go in here and let me see. Might not be in here actually. It might be under grade sync. Under grade sync, I like to go under utilities and like to do a nightly sync, so that anything that I've published and set to sync will continue to sync. You do have to make sure that you have published you have to make sure you have made it so that the assignment is allowed to be synced before this will work. If you don't do the check mark or the I, no, it's not the I, it's the check mark. It's not going to go over. So you don't have to worry about everything going through. But I like to do this. It helps if somebody turns something in later on, makeup work, things like that. So I like to do that. In here is also your history of syncing. If you are not seeing something going into Powerschool, you'll want to check under here. And sometimes it gives you error codes. It might be that the assignment name is too long. It might be the date is messed up. And one of the best things to do can be to copy that code, and then you can go into help and report a problem, and you can put that code in there and tell them, hey, this is the problem, this is what I'm getting, and they can normally go into your class and start seeing what the issue is. And so that's how I get help on whatever. I would report a problem most of the time. The community it's not as active as I would like, so I normally report a problem. And they're pretty good about getting back in 24 hours. Alright, so let's see. The other thing I wanted to go over was in grades, the filters. Alright, so up here we have a few things. So you do have a sync up here that, let's say you don't do a nightly sync or you just want to make sure things go, and you can do that. Under here we can do, if you want to do a late policy or a grade for missing stuff, an automatic one, so you don't have to put in zeros, you can do that. You could do manually post grades, which you'd end up going into the assignment and then clicking on it, and they wouldn't be able to see the score until you post it. And you click, all right, post to the gradebook. And here, normally I don't like it to show me unpublished assignments. Let's see, probably don't do notes. Here's a good one. I like mine arranged by newest to oldest. Then you've got some colors that you can use here, and again you just hit apply settings. And I already have some up here, but they added this here, apply filters, and here you would put in, I normally use sections, so I will, so you would have first block, second block, and so forth. So if I wanted to look at first block's grades, I would click on first block, or I could do, B-Day, it would be up here, whatever it is. And maybe go back. Maybe I want specifically populations. Maybe I want all the projects. So this would be test project, so I could do that. If I have my groups set up, then I could go there. So there's various things. You can also go into create and manage, and what you can do is you give it a name, and what I like to do with this is I do sections, and then I don't think it's in here. Normally I like to do sections and then quarters. So normally there's a thing in here that says like quarter 1, 2. So I like to do, especially pretty much after the first 9 weeks. Then I like to put that in to limit the amount of assignments that show up. Otherwise it's going to take forever. I don't really do the module type. I leave that. So that way I don't have to click on multiple filters. I can click on what I've named it, and then it will apply multiple filters without me having to click on all the things. Alright. I really liked how it was before, but yeah. To get rid of the filters, you can just click these away, and then it's gone. So again, I could click here and boom, first block. And of course right now I don't have any students in here, no names, so it's not really going to bring anything into it. Okay, so real quick, the how to make sure that it is syncing with Powerschool. So there's 2 ways to make sure that it is syncing with Powerschool, and or 2 ways that you need to put the setting to have it essentially speak to Powerschool. One is by going into the assignment. So you go into the assignment and you go to edit, and then underneath right here you click sync to Powerschool. You want to make sure your assignment group is the one you want, so that when it goes into Powerschool it goes under the correct category. And very important to put a date, and you want to make sure this is between the 9 weeks that you want. You do not want this going between the first 9 weeks and the second 9 weeks. It messes it up and it causes problems. So you want to make sure that if you want this to go in the first 9 weeks, you have the date for the first 9 weeks and you end it then. Mainly that's the due date and the until. You could probably make it available since the beginning of the year, but the critical part is the due date and the until being in the same quarter. You can also apply it to everyone, or I could do like only first block if I wanted to. I could do specific students. But you can kind of play around with this. A lot of it is kind of self-explanatory. I'll have another video where I go into kind of the details of quizzes. But here the important thing is to click sync to Powerschool. Make sure your assignment group is there. And do make sure that your name is short enough and the date. That date is critical. And it won't show up under grades if it doesn't have a date either. Alright, so the other way is we go into assignments, and if you let's say we go in, and to sync it over here, this one is publish and this one is sync. So if I wanted it to sync to Powerschool, I would just click it. Obviously it's not going to work right now because I mean this is a demo class, but you would click it and it would become green. Oh, one more thing. To make sure students see this stuff, it has to be published. And one thing that you might miss is if you've got the module, you need to publish this. Otherwise it won't show up. None of the assignments, even if you publish them underneath, will show up. So they added, I actually like this a lot, where you can publish the module and all items underneath, or just the module that publishes the kind of header, and then you can unpublish it. So I actually really like that. But that needs to be published. So you need to publish the actual module. So I would click this and publish all. And hypothetically. And then, well, that's publish all. If I could unpublish here once, as soon as one person has done this, you can't unpublish it. Once one person has put in the answers, it cannot be done. It is published. You cannot unpublish it. But those are the normal issues. So we need to publish it here. We need to publish it here. We need to make sure the course is published under it's not under settings. It's under home. It might be under settings too. Alright, so those are the basics, and after this, it should go into Powerschool.